Hello, and today I will be reviewing the movie The Snowman. The movie The Snowman made its first debut on the big screen in October of 2017. This movie was originally a novel and then later was adapted into a film. The movie was directed by a guy named Thomas Alfredson. Alfredson is most known for his work with thrillers, including the vampire movie Let the Right One In. The movie is based upon a detective trying to solve the case of a serial killer. The main character's name is Harry Hole. I'm not sure why you would want to name him Harry Hole if you wanted it to be a serious murder case, but, to each their own. The story starts out with a family sitting in a house. An angered father leaves, and a wife and kid race after him in a car. After losing sight of him, the wife crashes the car with the kid in it and tries to drown herself. It was clear that she was trying to commit suicide in this scene. The kid then, after seeing his mother drown, builds a snowman off to the side with a really creepy looking face. This was probably the first scene that stuck out to me the most, because it was like the snowman was a way of rekindling the childhood and innocence that he just lost in that moment. After that, the film cuts back to present day and focuses on Harry, the detective. A woman is then dismembered, and a calling card of a snowman was left. You start to see by this that this is the tactic used by the serial killer. You start to see that after each killing, he likes to make a snowman and leave it there, almost like a child would do. A note was later sent directly to the detective with a snowman drawn on the bottom. It was then clear that this had become a game, and that the target of this game was the detective. As viewers, we begin to wonder why the detective is being specifically targeted, and why the killer is trying to get to him. We later find out that the killer is mainly targeting women, and he is also targeting people sort of in the same boat as him. You can start to infer this choice by the way he chooses his victims. He's starting to target people with similar traits to his mother. Another thing about the killer is that he is clean and very, very hard to catch. This allows the storyline to sprawl out a bit more, and it also adds to the suspense of the story. We wonder if the detective will ever catch the killer. Later, we find out that the killer is actually the detective's ex-wife's current husband. I really liked that this character was chosen to be the killer because we have met the killer multiple times throughout the movie before it's revealed, and we don't know it's him. He's very clean cut, and I really like the way that he hides in plain sight the entire time. We never really suspect him until the end, and I really like this. This might be due to the fact that the directors deliberately did this. Here's a small clip of some cast and crew members talking about how the killer was designed and styled specifically.
I think he needs to be this very, neat and perfect about everything else in his life. Because when you have that chaos as one part of yourself, you really need to have a good order of everything else.
He's somebody that has their ties perfectly lined out in a perfect tie drawer, and his nails are perfectly sort of manicured.
Thomas gave me a very specific idea as to try to make him look as normal as possible with a slight oddity. So I wanted to try and create a character that was meticulous. All his clothing generally has straight edges to it. His ties are very straight, his shirts, collars are very straight. When you look at him, his body shape is very neat, he's very straight up and down, and I wanted to reflect that in his clothing that was slightly odd.
The movie ends with the killer taking Harry's kid and his ex-wife to an isolated cabin. He then proceeds to threaten Harry and tries to get Harry to figure out why he was targeted in the first place. Eventually, it is revealed that Harry is the biological father of his ex-wife's child, but for some reason has chosen to keep that fact hidden. The killer sees this as exactly what had happened to him when he was little. He thought that Harry had abandoned his child the same way that his father had abandoned him and left his mother to kill herself in front of his very eyes. It is clear that the killer is trying to exact revenge on Harry because he feels that he is the same as his own father. Overall, I thought this movie was really well done. I like how it showed a behind the scenes look on the making of a serial killer and what drove him to do what he did in the first place. I also really loved the imagery of the snowman being his childhood trauma and how that one moment stayed with him for the rest of his life and shaped who he was. This is an interesting take on a crime movie, and I recommend it to anyone who wants to see a crime story that isn't told very often and wants to see what actually goes into building a serial killer. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I hope that you'll watch this movie eventually on your own one day.